And here we are. Welcome to the Reptile Hangouts podcast, episode 4. I was thinking you were going to pick it up there, buddy. But all right, here we go. So,
well, no, man, I'm reading the notes. It says USARK. That's usually your thing.
Yeah, that's true. All right. Again, welcome again to the Reptile Hangouts podcast. This is episode 4. We have done this 4 weeks in a row now. Clearly, we
Still
are
don't have it
professionals.
together.
Clearly, we are professionals. I'm a Nick, as always, from Gecko Galaxy. And we have Gabriel down below, DIY Reptile Keeper. And, of course, my brother, Charles, Sea Shealer 97. Those are our Instagram handles. Look them up. Sometimes there's reptile stuff on there. There's always reptile stuff on there with me and him. Sometimes with him. There we go. I got it. All right. So as always, we're going to plug USARK. If you're not familiar with USARK, they are the only organization that's fighting for our rights to be able to keep reptiles on a nationwide scale. So check them out, usark.org. Consider subscribing to their or being a member. It's a small amount of money. And it goes a long way to help us be able to continue to do what we want to do with this hobby.
Yes, it does. USARK is our savior in the hobby for sure. But without further ado, guys, this is why you're here. I get to introduce our very special guest, Wally Kern of Supreme Geckos, Supreme Isopods, and Supreme Aquaria. Wally, how you doing tonight?
Hey, guys. It's nice to be here.
Thank you so much. Yes, thank you so much.
I hear you're doing a Christmas giveaway.
Oh my gosh, we're going to start with the giveaway. See, that's going to use up the whole hour and a half right there. I wanted to thank you guys for having me on. I'm looking at the chat here, and I see that my one and only fan, Frank the Tank, has joined us. So Frank, thanks for coming over and watching me on this wonderful channel here. I really appreciate that.
Thank you, Frank. We appreciate you being here.
So 12 Supreme Days of Christmas. What can I say? I'm going to try to keep this under an hour and a half for this one answer.
That's good.
But we started this giveaway about 9-10 years ago. This is the 9th year. I had a little bit of a break there, but we started it off the first year. I thought this would be a great way to get everybody together, to talk reptiles, to share in the community. At the end of the year, a nice wrap up, a nice kind of community builder kind of thing. So I wanted to do a gift every single day. So I asked around and everybody was great, but maybe not this year, maybe next year. So I contributed like dollar diet dishes and little things all over the place. And the final prize on the 12th day, we go every other day. We start the day after Thanksgiving. The last gift was like a $100 gift certificate to Supreme Gecko. The next year, people started joining in. So that the total gift value was probably $200 or $250, and it started to build and it gained momentum. And I'll say this last year was our best year. We gave away over $6,500 in donations, animals, reptile supplies. We had 2 or 3 or 4 gifts every single day. And most of all, and here's the important thing, this whole year following on Facebook and seeing people that met in this giveaway, talking to each other, and the vendors on Facebook talking to the people that were the participants in this giveaway, that was the biggest thrill of my life in getting these people all together and sharing, a common goal. And I can't tell you how positive it was. So people, oh my gosh, you're doing such a great job. I see all the work that you're putting in. It's selfish. I get a kick out of being able to organize something like this and have people join in and have a lot of fun with this. So this year we're doing it again. We're pretty much done with the donations. If somebody wants to donate, we have just a smidge of a room available for a couple more donations. But I've got to say I think we're at 80 gifts this year, and we're at about $100 worth of giveaways. I'm gonna leave that for next week. I'll do a big announcement video on how much we're at, but I will say that we're over the 6,500. It's just been incredible, and some of the best isopods have been donated. Some amazing crusteds, amazing leopard geckos. It's phenomenal. And this year, and you've got to stop me. You've got to say, Wally, time out, or else I'll talk forever. This year, we also included, because the last, from the beginning till last year and through last year, we were only US based, and we had a lot of questions. So I do a poll at the end of this. Hey, how can we improve? And there were a lot of questions about, can we do the UK? Can we do Canada? So this year we have a few Canadian vendors. We have, I think, a couple, 3 UK vendors involved. So we'll have special days where the participants for those gifts will only be UK and Canada, and the donators will be from those countries. So that's kind of exciting to go international with this thing. So
yeah, very
absolutely.
nice. We got to
Very
make sure
cool.
we get a link from you, Wally, so we can get
Yeah.
donations. We'll put it we'll put it in the description of this video, so we can get it out as far as we can get it, and make sure we get the most support that we can get. That's awesome. That's
Yeah,
great.
I mean, and I was gonna say too, just to interject, depending on what it is that you're looking for, I might be willing to get involved in that. And if I can't this year, then definitely next year, depending on how much room you have left.
thank you
So
very
what,
much.
what do you accept as far as donations go? What are you mainly looking for?
We're looking for reptile supplies. We have a couple of
reptile
snake vendors that have donated gift certificates, a bunch of gift certificates, a bunch of animals. We're looking for, what it's built on is pretty much my YouTube channel of isopods, geckos. But we also have, again, snakes and other gifts in there as well.
Awesome.
I'm going through in my mind the list of the different gifts, and it's just incredible. I will say though, I'll share the link, but it's real easy. Go to the Supreme Gecko channel, because that's pretty much from next week until the end of December. That's all that you'll see on there is the 12 Supreme Days of Christmas, and then it's as easy as this. Go to 12 SDOC Facebook page, and you'll find everything that you need to on there. 12 Supreme Days of Christmas, 12 SDOC.
Heck yeah.
Awesome.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
But anyways, man, so I guess we gotta get into these questions, right?
Let's do it.
What got you into reptiles, man? Let's take us back to the beginning, what got, Supreme Gecko started, and, the YouTube channel and everything. I mean,
wow. That's going way back, because I'm like 120 years. So I don't know if I can remember back that far, but I think I started just like everybody started, with going out into the wild, into nature, and finding something. For me, it was a little pond that was about, a block away, and knee deep, and looking for crayfish and tadpoles and fish. Man, I'm a bit. I tell you what, Charles, we could talk another hour and a half on fishing.
Don't say bass fishing.
Yeah, we all are.
You're right there in the Great Lakes.
Can we stop the show now and just talk bass fishing and
yes.
plastic worms?
Yeah, we can do
All
that.
right, guys, tune in next week for the rest of what we're
for the rest of the reptile part, but we're just gonna go ahead and go off there and talk about bass fishing for a while.
Outstanding. I would love that. So that was my beginning. Crayfish, tadpoles, coffee tin cans, and from there, I got into fishing at, I think I was 12 or 13. My parents, I got into a lot of trouble in Kenosha, actually, Wisconsin.
You're from Kenosha.
I am originally from Kenosha.
That's where my mom's side of the family
is. That right?
Yeah, his stepmom's side of the family. Yeah.
So I'm sure you've been watching the news recently.
Yeah.
So I got into a lot of trouble in Kenosha, and my parents I was lucky enough that my parents moved out into the county and on a lake, and me in a 12-foot boat with a 3-horse motor. I was out there all the time from 12 until, I moved out of the house. That's all every day. I was either ice fishing or off the dock.
Oh, man.
So anyways, I started keeping a 10-gallon tank to see the behavior. It's all about, for me, I love reading, but I have to apply it. I have to see it. I have to see what's going on. And to have 2 little bluegills in a tank and a bass in a 10-gallon tank, and see those bluegills just crush the bass over and over. So from there, I graduated college. I moved to Milwaukee. My parents, hey, you've got a bunch of stuff. They didn't use the word stuff. You've got a bunch of stuff here at the house. Come down and get your stuff out of the house. No, just throw it away. So sure enough, that weekend, they drove up with the van with all of my stuff and dumped it in, on my doorstep. That stuff included baseball cards and my old skates and my ice fishing poles and my tackle box, everything, and, a 10-gallon tank. Everything sat in our storage shed for a long time. I brought up the 10. I got some crebenzas, if anybody knows what they are. A pair of crebenzas. A pair of crebenzas, plastic bag, had the tank set up and cycled and everything, had done my research. And if you know crebenzas, you know that they breed in the bag before you even get them home. And put them in the tank, and, sure enough, in a few weeks, the little teeny tiny crebenzas. It's just, wow, my gosh, to see the whole cycle of life, or at least, being able to spawn something in a little tent that I had. So the problem there was that I got into it so much that the tanks actually multiplied by themselves. So 2 tens became 4 tens, 4 tens. And in a 1-bedroom apartment, I think I was up to 12 or 14 tanks.
Oh, wow.
So we started looking for a house. It was the right time of the market. Again, this was 100 years ago. And we'd walk into a house.
So.
My wife, Nanette, would look at the kitchen, blah, 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 and finally, okay, I've got to see the basement. Oh, this is a perfect basement. Yeah, I can set up some fish tanks down here. So when I was really heavily into fish, and Nanette and I were president of the Milwaukee Aquarium Society and everything, I think I had about 110 or 120 tanks. And we had some issues with our third child. He became sick, had some problems with the fish because I was at the hospital all the time. So one weekend I decided I've got to make a decision between career, the fish, and the family. And the family was staying, and I loved my career. So I got rid of everything in one weekend. Stayed away from any kind of a hobby and focused on my career for probably about 10 years and got into reptiles, started keeping reptiles. I had actually gone to a fellow fish keeper's house in Los Angeles on a business trip, and he had a floor to ceiling, 4 foot by 4 foot caged enclosure, and he had Jackson chameleons.
Wow.
I tell you, not ever seeing a chameleon, up close like that, and
Start
seeing
with
the eyes.
Jacksons.
Well, I started with veil. So my reptile career started with veil chameleons.
So I'm sorry to interject. So
No,
basically, it sounds like you took your passion and your start was in aquaria and that sort of aspect. And when you took the break and you come back, you're like, wow, this is where I'm feeling this right here. So you actually got into reptiles after a break from keeping in general.
Absolutely.
Amazing.
Yeah. And I think I'm kind of a Excel geek. My former career was in computers, so everything was Excel sheets and everything. And I actually got into more making sure I utilized every single square inch of my available footprint downstairs, probably more so than even keeping the fish, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I could actually, take out our furnace if I had to and move it around and get it out of the fish room by like a half of an inch or something. So I got out of fish. I got into reptiles, chameleons. I loved them. Got my first leopard gecko, and shortly after got crested geckos. And at that point, everything exploded.
Yeah.
I remember like 18 years ago.
Can I pause you 1 second, Wally?
Please do.
We're having a little bit of technical difficulties.
Yeah.
Nick, you're the only one I lost.
I lost everybody.
I have Wally crystal clear, and I have Gabe crystal clear.
I got everybody.
To make sure.
Well, everybody's
right,
back.
How about you guys,
now.
chat? Are we doing all right?
Yeah.
They'll respond in a second. Sorry to cut you off, Wally. I just want to make sure everything was good to go. Did we lose you again, Nick?
No, I'm with you guys now. I lost everybody, but everybody's
perfect.
back. Before we start again, I like doing this if I can. We have Creative Coralofus who's watching us right now, and he says he blames Wally for his Peridora addiction. And I got to say, I have an addiction to a gecko that I don't own, and it's Peridora picta because of you, Wally.
What? You don't own a pair of Peridora picta?
For
shame.
Have Picta yet.
How do I shut this off? I'm turning my camera off. You don't have a pair of Peridora picta?
You made him mad. Come on.
I'm mad now. You got me going, man. Thanks for the shout out. That's really cool in the chat. I got into reptiles, kept leopard geckos, kept crested geckos, and started keeping some really weird stuff like Periodora picta, and I absolutely fell in love with that. I'm not really, I tell you what, I've watched you guys for some episodes here, and you blow the ceiling off of the scientific look at things. And that is so cool to see. I'm unfortunately not that way. I'll look up, from a fish background, Latin names, locations. I try to understand as much about nature as I possibly can. But, my focus has always been on geckos, and now it's expanding into isopods, and it was obviously tropical fish. But you guys, you seem to know a lot about a lot of things. I give you guys a lot of credit because you're throwing out names and information that just, for me, it zooms right past me. So, kudos, you guys.
Well, thank you. We really appreciate that. Well, that means a lot.
Thank you
that
very
means
much.
a lot.
Yeah, for sure, man. And a lot of it's, this man up here doing a lot of work too.
I feel like it's worth saying that too. Just I started this channel a while back, but honestly, I don't think I would have come as far as I have, which is not super far yet, if it wasn't for Wally somehow seeing my very first video and commenting on it. And I don't think it was a somehow. I happened to do a video about isopods and springtails, and so I think that's probably how you found it.
And
I remember now
because he's not lying in the slightest. Because I remember talking to him because we talk daily, and he's like, "Yo, Wally from Supreme Geckos just commented on my video." And I was like, "What?"
I was starstruck.
It's like, it's your first video. What do you mean?
Because I was already watching you, and I was like, "You're one of my favorites for sure." And I was like, "Wow, somebody commented on a video. Somebody who is doing this and is doing well at it. I feel great."
Am I blushing? Yeah. I think I'm blushing. Sorry, guys.
You're a little red.
I'm turning red. Seriously, so we do reptile shows. My wife and I do reptile shows. Okay. I've been doing reptile shows for many, and I hate if I'm cutting into some of the questions that might be coming up here.
That was one of the things we were going to ask. So
you're going to probably continue to answer most of them. I'm a quarter way down the list so far, just from the first story.
So we do reptile shows, and it's funny because I have done them with a couple of my sons. One of my sons is very accounting focused and everything numbers and keeping track. He and I do great at shows. Because I can talk, I can sell, and he's recording everything, and I hate that part of it. My oldest son, who is a phenomenal salesman, car salesman, and he and I do terrible at shows because he's talking to people and I'm talking to people. It's like, how did we get all this money and what did we sell? Because I didn't write anything down. Did you write anything down? So
that's a good problem to have, though.
To relate back to your previous point, people come up to our table all the time and say, "Oh, I watch you on YouTube and I love what you're doing." And I thank them, and then we start talking. It's like, two brothers or a brother or sister, and we could just talk and talk and talk and talk. I love talking about animals, and I love sharing my passion about animals 100%. So
definitely. I got a twofer for you, my friend, and we're going to start with when it comes to the breeding of reptiles and and geckos specifically. How was that a segue over time? Did they just kind of maybe I want to try this, or were you just like, those two are amazing and I'm going to buy those and breed them, and then I'm going to breed them and then breed them, and did you jump right into it? And secondly, I'm assuming that keeping reptiles in the first place is how you segued into isopods, but I would definitely like to hear the actual story on that.
Perfect. Good questions. And that second question, you're probably going to have to ask me again because I'll forget it in about 2 minutes. So the whole breeding thing,
I got them written down though. So
all right. The whole breeding thing. So getting all the morphs is secondary to me. Making money with the babies is kind of a side thing. And, again, I could talk about reptile shows and I'll relate this real quick. This is a great story. The first reptile show my oldest son and I did, I told him it's a small show. We're not bringing a lot of animals, so don't expect a lot. And we do the show, we get in the car, and he handled all the money. Get in the car, and I said, "How did we do?" And he pulls out this wad of bills, and he looks at me and goes, "Yeah, We're
Yeah.
like we've made the big time, man. And I said, put the money away. Put the money away. Why? That's how we did. We did no, that's not how we did. Did we talk to people? Did we make connections? So the money thing is like third or fourth on my list, and the morphs and everything. I'm not real scientific, and I know the stuff, but that's not real what really drives me. And I've said this over and over again. The first day that I go down to the incubator and I open it up and there's a baby in there, and I'm not just, jumping for joy, crying and overexcited, is the day that I stop doing this. It's all about seeing that whole, it sounds so corny when I say it. It's that whole, seeing babies and seeing the production. And
it's the whole cycle, man.
It really is. And I think maybe it's because in my mind, if I can get babies, that means that I'm doing some of the other things the right way. I don't know. But so the whole breeding question, the very first pair of leopard geckos I had, again, just like cribenzas, you bring them in, you set them up the right way, and you wait a little bit, and you get babies, you get eggs, you talk to a couple of people, you incubate, and you get eggs, babies. And seeing the babies started the whole process. So, getting, and I started with a great animal, leopard geckos, and got into the crested geckos and more babies. And now I have tubs and tubs full of babies. And that just kind of propagated all the way down the line.
Yeah. So what, you said you got tubs and tubs full of babies. What all do you have right now in the way of geckos, various species, anything like that? What are you working with?
How many species are you keeping?
Now? Yeah.
I know of several from YouTube.
Think it's hard because a lot of the species, somebody just asked on YouTube, hey, after the last video that I did showing a couple of different species, somebody said, can you just do a video showing all the different species? I think I'm up to 55 different species of geckos. I've had as many as 100 in the house at one time. A lot of the little teeny tiny micro geckos. And I don't know if I could do a video because a lot of them hide. It would take me a week to do a video showing just a week of filming to try to get them all.
You could do like sections where you show, a video and you have a few, species, and then in another week or 2 or 3 weeks, you could break it up and have another section, introduce another few species. That'd be cool.
Gabriel, I love that idea. So I take that idea and maybe, I have a lot of videos already out there on maybe a dozen different species, maybe more than that. Maybe what I need to do is keep doing those individual videos and then at some point just steal footage from all of those YouTube videos that I'm putting out there and tape it all together and say, okay, here's all the different types of geckos that I'm keeping. That's an outstanding idea. I love that.
That's a great way to do it right there.
I'm making notes.
Yeah, put that one in a think tank for sure.
Yeah, good idea.
So with the isopods, I'm assuming, like I said earlier, natural segue. Keeping reptiles, isopods, food source, all that. How did that grow?
Kind of, sort of. About 5 or 6 years ago, I got on a major project at work, and like I said, I kind of technical computers. I was a project manager, and the project that I was on was a multi-million-dollar project I managed, and it was easily 80 hours a week, and weekends I was on the computer all the time, and it took a lot out of me, and the geckos were secondary. The family was way down the list, unfortunately, and that's eventually why I rethought about that whole process. But anyways, I didn't have any time for about 2 years on this big project with the animals at all. So Nanette had to step in. My wife, Nanette, had to step in and help out with everything. It was just very hard for me knowing, coming home late at night, hey, Nanette, how are the animals? Did you feed this? Any babies? And it was really hard. So after a couple of years, I left my job and said, yeah, that's about it for me. I'm just going to work on reptiles and have fun now.
Wow.
That's awesome.
It was mental strain. It was the right time.
Actually, if you could take a small segue and walk us through that decision. I mean, that's no small decision. I mean, what was it easy at the time? And it just felt natural?
No, not at all. Like I said before, I made the decision years ago to not do fish, which I was at that time shipping out all over the world. well, at least Europe and United States. So it was hard for me not to get full-time into the fishing. The internet was just kicking off at that time. Yes, that's 100 years ago. So it was a hard decision at that time to not get into my hobby. This time it was a lot easier because of, I think, the mental strain, and it was just, it was a never ending, more, we need more, we need more. And we had lost some people and we never filled those spots. So being the project manager, I jumped in and tried to do everything and kept getting asked to do more and more. And one day I said, we either need 3 people or something's got to change. We never brought in the people. So something changed. I walked in and said, that's it. So it was a hard transition. For a month, I sat and watched the Flintstones and the Jetsons. And after about a month, I said, I'm not this way. I can't do this. So, I went to my Excel and started putting together a plan. And the hard part is, after 2 years of just feeding the animals and not really conditioning them and all, they needed to be conditioned. So I knew in the spring of a few years ago that I was going to go through a year of conditioning and then maybe some eggs and then another half of a year to get some hatchlings. That's a lot of feeding and a lot of cleaning, knowing that you're not going to get any babies for a year and a half. So I had to do something. So I had been into isopods a few years before with dwarf whites, and you're talking about bioactive powder blues, I think. Yeah. And they did really well for me. So I thought, well, they were breeding and everything. Maybe I'll play around because this isopod thing is kind of kicking off. I see it on Facebook a little bit. So I got 3 or 4 species, brought them in, and babies. I had babies. So by the fall of that year, I probably had a dozen different isopods. By the next spring, I think I was over 30 or 40, and it's just kind of built a little bit past that. But that was I have to see something to make me feel like I'm doing something right in my facility. And the isopods kind of filled that gap. And they're pretty cool too. So
yeah, they grip you. They grip you kind of like, reptiles do. It's definitely a neat process to observe.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man. I love the isopods. I've kept a few. I haven't had the best luck with them, I don't know. I just keep them for a certain amount of time, and then for some reason they just crash on me, and I haven't been able to get them to figure it out.
Gabriel, call me after the show and we'll talk about that.
Oh, heck yeah, man.
Perfect.
There's a couple of little tricks to them. Some are really, really difficult, but 90% of them have the same 3 or 4 requirements. And if you can meet those requirements, you're going to do fairly well with most of them. So it's not, I look at isopods and I really think that it's not rocket science. You need, a good substrate, a good moist area. You need to feed them, and you can't, burn them up or cool them down too much. And then you're okay.
Gotcha.
Well, sort of a little Goldilocks
zone. I definitely watch a few of your videos on substrate and stuff. So I do plan on trying some stuff.
Sounds good. I'm on YouTube. Leave a comment. I usually reply to all the comments within one day.
Oh, awesome.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you're definitely quick to reply. No doubt about it.
Proceeding. This is honestly probably my favorite question. I really want to know the answer to this.
Sure.
Very badly. What's your favorite species of reptile? Sorry,
what time is it? Oh gosh. It changes every single day. So we had the comment about the Periodora picked. I did a video and I tried to pick my top 10. Crested geckos, I think, came in 4th. Leopard geckos were, 6 or 8 or something. And people were, oh my gosh, crested geckos are the best pet, or leopard geckos are the best pet. You should have them number 1. Why didn't you put African fat tails in there? So I got a lot of responses like that. One of my favorite geckos is gold dust geckos because they stay small. They're fairly active. They're beautiful, beautiful animals. In the right lighting, they're just one of the most beautiful animals out there.
Absolutely.
I still love crested geckos. One of the geckos that's really caught a lot of my attention. I used to keep micro geckos a long time, but they take a lot. The beautiful animals and fun to work with. You can have a lot of them, kind of like keeping dart frogs. The only problem with micro geckos is a lot of care. So the animal that's really caught my eye recently, it was the video that I just did on setting up a new stand. And that's the one of two is the helmeted that I think is on the thumbnail. And great thumbnail, by the way.
Yeah, the helmeted geckos, man, they are something else. I love the way they look. They don't look, I don't know, they're anatomically weird. The way they fit together, it's cool, but it's different. It's definitely different.
Absolutely. And they're little bulldogs. They'll stand their ground and they'll squeak at you and say, I'm a lot bigger than you. So helmeted geckos, and the other gecko that I really am taking a fancy to is the scorpion tail geckos.
Yeah,
and
that one blew me away.
Yes, the Carteri, they sit on rocks and they look for their prey. And I mean, they're always out. So you can have a crested gecko. Yes, exactly. And their tails, you aggravate them and their tails, I don't know if you can see this, but the tails come up just like a scorpion. It's really cool. So because, you can go to a crested gecko tank and say, hey, I've got crested geckos in there. Where? I don't see them.
Yeah.
I've got leopard geckos. Where? Well, they're in their hide right now, but they're really cool looking. But you can go to a Carteri scorpion tail tank, and they are right in front, and you move across the tank, and they just follow you back and forth. Like, you gonna feed me, or what's the deal here?
That's awesome.
It's always nice to have animals that are very interactive. That's
yes.
That's pretty cool, man.
I'm challenged at shows a lot because, I always consider the crested gecko to be the perfect pet reptile. Excuse me. But people will bring up, well, how about bearded dragons? And there's nothing like having a bearded dragon on your shoulder and interaction and they, you personalize their emotions and everything. But I tell you, these little scorpion tail geckos are becoming one of my favorites. But my number one, I'm getting back to, again, I'm very verbose here. I'm getting back to your question, Charles. My favorite gecko has to be Periodora picta from the standpoint that it's the easiest to keep, one of the easiest geckos to keep, small enclosure. They don't get to be but 4 inches long, handleable, not finicky eaters. They need a little temperature boost of about 90, just like a leopard gecko. But the possibilities with their morphs from striped to reticulated to triple striped to T+ albinos to, it's just unlimited. I've seen some picta geckos that were as white paper. I've seen some that were, at first glance, you couldn't tell them apart from a patternless African fat tail. Just crazy colors. So
there's not much variable.
What's that?
There's a lot of it. I don't know much about those guys. I've seen them, and stuff like that, and I think they're beautiful. But I didn't know there was that much of a variance in them.
Yeah.
There really is. And I think that they catch on for a while, for a couple, 3-4 years, and then they kind of die off depending on who's breeding them or not. You can always find them at reptile shows for $35 a piece because they come in from the wild. And
not at my reptile shows.
Exactly. If you see them for that price, they're probably from the wild. But if you're working with a breeder that's really working on their lines, I think it's a really quality animal. So there's two different sides. The keeping of a Periodora picta, Madagascar ground gecko is, causes it to be way up there. And from a breeding standpoint, I think that the breeder looking for something really, really different. I think that there's a lot of attraction to keeping Periodora picta.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
I need to have some. I need to have some. They really aren't available like at my local shows. I've never ever seen one. Up until recently, the only things that I've seen that have interested me have been New Caledonian stuff. And I recently was able to get my hands on a pair of Coleonyx metratus, the Central American banded geckos, which I got interested from watching your video.
Oh, thank you very much.
So yeah, I have a pair of those now, and they're awesome.
Do you know if they're captive bred or are they wild?
I was told by the lady who had them, it was sort of random. She bought them from someone else and then took them to flip them, but they looked okay, so I took a pair from her, and they're doing well.
Excellent.
I don't know whether they were wild caught or not. They both have partial regrow tails, unfortunately, but yeah.
That another fun gecko. I could just go walking down the line of different types of geckos. The bandeds, you see some of them in the hobby once in a while, but then again with the bandeds, there's some that you just never ever see and highly, highly desirable.
Yeah, definitely.
So if we're talking about Supreme Gecko, and we know you got a lot of species, you got a lot of animals, you got a lot going on. When in the morning, Monday morning, alarm goes off, you clock in as Wally of Supreme Geckos. What's a day in the life like for you? What do you do other than make that cup of coffee? Where's your next stop?
You nailed it. It's coffee first. I want to say hi to Jennifer and JP, Frank, IR Thumper. Thanks for jumping in. So your question is, what do I do in the morning? I found about 2 or 3 or 4 months ago, I had a problem. I would jump on Facebook and YouTube and Instagram, and oh my gosh, it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. What the heck have I been? None of my projects are done. The geckos still need to be fed. So I came up with a list, and it's literally sticking right here so I can see it every single morning. So 6 to 7, 6 o'clock until 7 in the morning is messages. I get up, I get my bowl of cereal, my Captain Crunch, and I sit down and I start answering messages. So at 7 o'clock, the bell rings and I'm done. So at 7 o'clock till 9 o'clock, I do research. So 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock, I'm either doing a YouTube video or it's my time to do research. It's my time to look at supplies or new geckos or something. And I don't answer questions because once I start answering questions, the message is just back and forth and it's all day. And I literally get probably about 50 messages a day. And that's cool. I love that. But it takes away from some of the other things that I do. So
now, are these general inquiries or could they be sales inquiries? What do you mean by message? Everything. Anything.
Good question. I exclude the sales part of this completely away from that. It's just
perfect.
I bought a new leopard gecko and it's not eating. I've had it for 1 day. What should I do? My crested gecko went into shed. So I got into the whole YouTube. You're probably going to ask this too. Why did you start YouTube? I started doing YouTube about 11 years ago. There's a reason why I'm going to tell you this. I started YouTube about 11 years ago to show off the animals that I was keeping, but answer a lot of questions. I was getting a lot of questions back 11 or 12 years ago. So here's how you hold a crested gecko. Here's how you hold a leopard gecko. Here's what you do if a crested or leopard gecko goes into shed. The video's out there. Now all I have to do is when I get a question like that, say, watch this video. So immediately, hey, Wally, my crested gecko is going into shed. What should I do? Well, can you tell me more about how long it has it? And tell me, can you show me pictures of your? So I still continued that interaction with the customers, and eventually I point them to the video and say, after we're done chatting, go ahead and watch this video. So it didn't really take me away from answering the questions, and that's fine. But it at least became a basis of, hey, we just talked about this, but go and check out this video to kind of wrap up the conversation in case you have any other questions.
Definitely. So, well, that's a good distinction, though. Your questions from 6 to 7 are going to be your, you're knowledgeable every day. What can I help you with? Questions.
Absolutely.
And it's not the business side of it, and that's really good though, because we touched on this in an earlier episode with social media and different presences. We need that access to quality information, which somebody like you is very apt to give, and that makes me feel good. You take time out of every day, it sounds like, to provide quality information and your experience and share your knowledge with the general public who may not have that knowledge or may just want to shore up, some things they already think they know. But I mean, that's great. That's great because it's only going to better the hobby and it's going to better the quality of life that these animals get in return. So that's great. That's awesome to hear.
Well, I appreciate that. And there's a good side, 6 to 7, I'm answering messages, but it's all personal messages and it's all YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. None of that is going on to Facebook in groups and seeing a question. Is it okay if I keep my male with my female together the whole year? I don't get into that at all on Facebook. I just don't anymore. Again, from a mental health standpoint, you have to do things that you feel comfortable with. And the first time I see somebody that has a lot of experience in the hobby put down, well, it depends. If you have more experience, you can handle it. But my suggestion is that you should never, cohabitate. And then somebody right behind them comes in and says, you should never cohabitate. You're going to kill your aunt. And
Yep.
knowing that this other person does, but they know what to watch for. So there's always other details that you just can't fill in. But
there's that toxicity we spoke on. It's unfortunate, but
so it's frustrating from two standpoints. Number one, and I don't want, I could go way off tangent on this one, but two different bad things about that's happening there. Number one, the beginners are feeling like, well, maybe I should never ever ask another question on social media because I'm going to get a response like this.
It's intimidating for sure.
It's very intimidating. It's very demeaning. It's very, gosh, why am I even keeping these animals? Because I'm obviously not doing the right thing, and I guess I'm going to fail. So the opposite is, try to build them up. Say, another way to do it is this. So the other problem with something like that is that experienced person, and I hear this time and time again. Joe Hupp, one of my all-time favorite people from a personal standpoint, but also from a gecko keeping standpoint, doesn't use social media anymore. What a flippin' loss of knowledge that as a community, as a reptile community, as gecko keepers, we're losing right there. You could go to Joe and say, hey, Joe, how do I take care of my shedding crested gecko? And he'll answer you. But he stays away from social media like a lot of experienced people because they don't want that. They don't want to try to explain themselves and try to add the detail because, like Charles, you were saying, a lot of times it becomes a little toxic. So that's hard. But I'm going to get back. Sorry, I'm going way off.
No. We got plenty of time, Wally. Whatever you want to say. Awesome.
Thanks.
Love to hear it for sure. But I think we were at 8:00, I believe, if I remember correctly.
Okay. So 7 to 9 is research. 9 o'clock to noon is animals. I get downstairs, I do the animals. Noon to 1 is, eating a lunch, and I've got the news on, and I'm answering messages again. So I'm catching up on messages, grabbing a quick lunch, and then 1 to 3 is animals again. And the reason I have this little piece of paper is that I can look at it every single day and say, Wally, you can't be on Facebook and YouTube the whole day. You've got to get stuff done. And this helps me at least structure my time a little bit. So 1 to 3 is animals again. 3 to 4 is social media. I'm posting pictures. I'm announcing new YouTube videos. I'm actively participating in social media at that point. And then 4 until 7 is family time. So my wife comes home. She's a teacher, just loves what she's doing. Our granddaughter goes to school and she comes here, and I watch her get off the bus and interact. So from 4 to 7 is my time. And, I might get on a message if I see something very important and answer it, but I'm not on the computer or I'm not working with the animals. That's family time. And then usually from 7 until is either family time, watching something with my wife on TV or talking or doing something.
We got hockey games.
Or hockey, man.
At 7 o'clock. We're getting into those later games. Got some Canada games for you kicking off around, what is that, 10 o'clock? For me,
there you go.
What is it, 10? Yeah, around 10.
And being a Blackhawks fan, I've got to say, it's hockey, baby.
It's Flyers.
Who's a Flyers fan? Did somebody say I'm a Flyers fan?
That's Charles, yeah.
He's a Flyers fan. There you go.
Die hard, baby. Fly high.
Oh, I can't reach it from here, but I have a good friend, Andrew, that sent me a Philadelphia Flyer hat, and I wear it occasionally, just kind of to do a couple of videos. But yeah, I
We'll
love
have
the
to
Flyers
coordinate
too.
on our next episode.
There you go.
And
I
like
love it.
the Blackhawks as well. No bad blood there. But if Pennsylvania, Penguins, nah, we don't want none of that.
Yeah.
But
Bad memories of the Penguins beating the Blackhawks, and I'll never forgive them for that. But the Flyers are cool. I like the Flyers. Broad Street
Good.
Bullies.
Awesome. Yeah, I wish we could get back to that. That sort of name we built way back in the 70s. That would be nice to see that alive today. I feel like lately we've been playing very well.
I think so too.
Well, but we'll see how it goes, man. COVID got us. We were on track, number 1 in the league, ready to take our cup home after 50 years or something. Yeah, some insane long amount of time. And they were like, nope, COVID's here. Y'all can't play anymore. And it shut us down. It hit us hard. We lost good team members, lost the valuable practice time, and really lost our edge. A little hockey pun there if you're a hockey guy.
Well done.
Thank you. But I'm sorry. Enough about that.
Love hockey. Love sports.
Good, yeah.
It's funny because when I worked, that was one of my releases, going down, working on the animals and coming upstairs at about 11 o'clock and flipping on and watching MLB or the Hockey Channel and catching up on sports. Now, I don't do that quite as much. My releases,
And I feel you on that, and I liked and I want to make more time for it, but it's hard, but I need to. Yeah, like you said, it's a release.
It is. Me too. I need to do that too. Let's do a game. Flyers at the Blackhawks next game. Either I'll go there or you come up here and we'll do a game.
Oh man, don't tempt me. You better make me open my app. I'll buy a plane ticket. Take time off work. This is not good for my life.
I'll buy dinner. I'll kick in for dinner that night.
There you go. Sweeten the pot.
All right. Now we gotta after the episode, we always do a little hangout and decompress and discuss everything. We're gonna link something up. We're gonna lock that in. We're gonna lock that in for sure. You do any golfing? A lot of natural segue there. Hockey, baseball, right into golf.
I used to golf a lot. As a teenager, I was on the course pretty much before anybody else and would golf a couple of rounds, until people started coming on the course and they kicked me off. Loved to golf. I just was never any good with it. And I tweaked a muscle on my back and I could never drive that well past that point. So I could never get really that much better. So that and the fact that, I have teenage boys. So every other club in my bag is either broken or the heads of, the drivers are all dented up from hitting rocks. And
yeah.
My first snake hook was a golf club that I cut the head off of. Into a snake hook, so.
It was. I remember it was.
I still got one.
It was.
Do you?
Yeah. Hey, they make really good snake hooks. Yeah, I golf probably
essentially
too much,
what a snake
honestly.
hook is.
I'm not that great. I think I played to about a 14 handicap, but I try to play 36 holes every weekend.
Well done.
Hey man, they're tough, man. They last forever. You never have to buy one after you make it.
Not the clubs in my bag. I don't know what you got, but
well, if I ever need a snake hook, I know I have at least 4 or 5 available golf clubs that I can use. So
yeah, just
what works
up.
really good? It really works really good. If you get the snake hook head and you cut the head off a golf club, make sure you get all the innards out of it. And you take. You said you were a fisherman, so you ever re-glue a tip eyelet?
All the time.
Right
epoxy.
there. So you get that hottie, that like stick almost of epoxy. You heat it up, you let it flow, stick it in there. That stuff works wonders for making snake hooks.
Nice. I used to do that. I worked as a kid at Gander Mountain. So
oh wow.
Yeah.
Cool,
so I used to do that all the time. Go into the returns. We have this rod that came in broken. This one. You want any of them for $5? Oh, Fenwick. Sure, I'll take a couple of Fenwicks.
Yeah,
there you go.
Absolutely.
I can fix those.
A G Loomis for 10, but yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
If nobody wants it, yeah.
Sold.
Oh man.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. But yeah, so the last thing that we were talking about on topic was what's your day like? So we can sort of get close to wrapping up the gecko thing. Is there anything that's like a dream species for you that you don't currently have that you want? Gecko wise.
I try to stay within my realm. And when I say that, I know I have so much resources. Resources are not just the space downstairs. It's also how much time I have. And it's also how much knowledge and how much I can set up something different. So I know there's some geckos that are outside of my resource realm. And one of my favorite geckos, I love seeing pictures of this gecko, is Periodora masabi. It's a gecko that's about 6 inches long, jet black, white spangles, and the biggest black eyes. But I know that they've been kept. I was offered a pair at one time, and I told a good friend, I'm not going to take it. And he dropped the price like in half. I'm not going to take it because I'm not ready for it. I know that I have a lot of learning and more experience. This was years ago. I need more experience in keeping other animals before I tackle something like that. I'm not going to take it and kill it on you. So I think everybody has to stay within their realm, but there's some micro geckos that a couple of friends are doing that eventually sometime, if they're offered up for sale, I'd like to get into. The leaf tails. Gosh,
pardon me for
the Europlatus or
Europlatus. Thank you very much. The Europlatus. Fantasticus. I would love to get Satanics. I would love to get into, but Europlatus is another animal I kind of know that I'm not in my facility. I'm just not set up for Europlatus.
Oh boy, we're getting a real big.
Is that? Can you still hear me?
I hear.
Is that Charles? Maybe.
It could be.
So, that's bad.
Yeah, there's an I wonder if it's because of the AirPods maybe come out. I don't know.
I think so. So he's probably coming back in about an hour, right?
Yeah. Let's just hold for a second here.
Someone said darn.
It sounds like that. Luke.
Oh boy.
Wow.
I don't know. So, I mean, does anyone on the comments have any questions they want to ask?
I haven't seen any questions. Most of them just talking amongst themselves. But we definitely have way more people here tonight than we've had at all. So thank you for that, Wally.
I think all 4 of my fans came in. Wow.
That's so bad. Are you hearing this?
Yeah. I don't know.
As soon as you got up and walked away, we've got this robotic echo thing going.
Is it me?
No.
I don't think so.
Is it still?
Nope, it's still going. Oh boy. It's starting to fall apart.
I don't hear any chat. Hey, do you guys hear? I hear nothing.
It's awful. I can't help but laugh.
I know. These things happen.
Yeah,
Can you hear me now?
Now we're sounding better.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, there's still something in the background.
DJ's still talking in slow motion, right?
Say something, bro.
Charles or me?
Something, bro.
Oh, yep, nope. Oh, sorry, Wally. I was talking to Charles. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, anyways.
It seems to maybe be on your end, brother. I don't know what's going on.
Out and reloading.
Yeah, try that. Here, let me remove you, and I'll put you back in. Okay, we'll try that.
That's a great idea.
All right, so we've got him out. Oh, he like dropped out. Hang on.
Bye, Charles.
Bye.
It was great meeting you.
I didn't mean to. I hit remove. That usually just removes him from the screen. Here he is. He's back. All right, we're adding him back in. Let's see how this goes. Go ahead. Sound check.
Anything? What's going?
Oh, that
Hey,
worked.
we're back.
All right.
There we go.
I'm so sorry,
Yes,
guys.
yes.
No, it's not your fault.
Yes.
My bladder is not punctual at all, and it just duty calls, as they say.
Charles,
I apologize.
on that hockey show that we do, you don't get to get a potty break. Sorry.
I don't. All right. Well, I just drink my first beer real fast. How about that?
That'll do it.
Oh, that's the down home way to do it. That's how
There
we
you
do
go.
Man.
it. All right.
But
That's
I
funny.
think you were mentioning the Europlatus fantasticus as a
Sorry,
possible
Chat. I
like sort of
apologize.
dream gecko, but maybe a little bit out of your reach right now.
Again, I think that people
Resource-wise.
have to people have to understand what they can keep and what they can't be,
Absolutely.
what they can't keep, and know that if they keep something that they can't keep, that they're not really doing the animals any justice whatsoever. So Satanics, the Fantasticus, would be one of my if I had the resources, that would be one of the animals I'd love to keep. I'd love to keep some of the electric blues, Lygodactylus Williams eye. Those are super cool. Past that, I don't have anything. Maybe some of the higher end Australian knobtail geckos, Aspers.
Aspers, very nice.
Exactly. So those would be it, I think.
Okay, awesome.
So you don't do any serpents at all?
I don't. I never ever got into. Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing with snakes. I would love, and in fact, I thought about bringing a hognose home one time. This is back years ago.
They're so cool.
And yeah, exactly. They're beautiful. The different morphs. I thought, wow, these reds and anacondas and just really cool snakes. So I approached my wife and said, sweetheart, I'm geckos and reptiles, and I still have plenty of room, and I'd like to expand the business. I think hognose would really go crazy, and I could make a lot of money, and I just love how and there's some friends that are breeding them, and I could learn a lot. And she said, okay, here's the deal. You bring home a snake, I walk, the dog goes with me, and I take the card.
No, not the card.
All right.
Not
Talk
the
about your
card.
ultimatum.
So I know my limits, and that's as definitive of a line as I've ever heard her say. She's so down to earth, but she looked me straight in the eyes like, this is how it's going to be.
Yep.
Hey, and actually, it's spur of the moment. This isn't even on the list. It just made me think of it. We were recently up in your neck of the woods, Chi-Town, for Tinley Park Reptile Expo. Yeah, had a great time. Phenomenal show. Just absolutely out of this world. We've noticed, though, there specifically, there was sort of a restriction on selling hognose snakes. Does that extend up into where you're at? Is that... and this is completely random. You just said
no.
So it kind of jogged my memory there. Does that extend to where you are? Or?
Great question. I'll start off by saying Tinley is one of my favorite shows because you get to see so much at Tinley Park.
So much.
The problem is that it's just so crowded and so busy all the time. You don't get a chance to talk to the vendors that much. Hognose. So in Wisconsin, hognose aren't endangered. Their western limit extends far into Wisconsin. The problem is that it just barely, if I remember right, the little about snakes that my wife allows me to know and research on, the hognose range extends just into Illinois, so it's on the endangered list in Illinois. So if you're buying a snake from a Wisconsin owner, you have to have all the permits and everything signed off before you can buy one. You have to have proof that you're buying from a breeder.
Nice. Yeah. See, the chat just lit up with that same information, right?
Did it? Okay.
Yeah.
Special permits required for Illinois residents.
Yeah, Creative
perfect.
Coralofus. Thank you for that.
Well done.
Thank you for that.
Yes.
And
sorry, guys, I'd love to put more of these on there, but I'm listening to Wally, and I'm not used to having this many comments. Thank you guys so much.
Can I
do
that?
Yeah, if you hover over it says show. Yeah. Yep. That'll do that. But yeah, we actually purchased but they're pretty rare to find, Frank says. Yeah. We bought one there. I bought it for a friend of mine who was wanting one. And
You had to sign
for
a
being
little
out of
notice.
state, yeah, we had to just fill out papers from the breeder. But I mean, I live in a state where they're not protected and they're not native. So
And I guess I'm not opposed to that. That makes sense as long as you can
oh, it
have
was
the
easy
trackability.
to do. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
all it was. It was just the DNR wanting to keep track of what was sold. Yeah, it was easy to
I'm
do.
all good for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
So moving
Do
on.
you get a chance to do many? I know you mentioned earlier with your sons and vending shows. Do you do that often, or are you primarily, is your business primarily ran over the internet, or do you do a lot of in-person shows?
We do a lot of shows. There was one time being in Wisconsin and so close to Chicago, we were doing I want to say for a period of about 3 or 4 years, we were probably doing 30 to 35 shows a year. This last year, I would say we probably jumped back down to about 12-ish. About 12. Once a month seems about right. So we do about 12 shows a year. And again, I can't emphasize enough. I love it. I'll never stop. So my wife and I started talking about, Wally going to these shows takes us a whole day on Saturday to prepare and labels and everything. And then Sunday and then Monday is kind of clean up the tubs and kind of recovery. It's a lot of work. And you're doing really, really well on online with the sales. We're shipping out, boxes on Mondays and Tuesdays.
Yeah, kind
Why
of
don't we just
hint.
exactly. Why don't we just go and not do as many shows? And I said that's a good idea, but it's just not going to happen right now. I love doing reptile shows. I love meeting other people.
Yeah.
What's that?
Getting that one-on-one with people.
You get that one-on-one that you don't get online. That inflection, the enthusiasm. There's nothing. And I post this all the time after a show. There's nothing like having a family come up to the table. What are these? Well, they're geckos, and start that whole process building and building until I can actually take a gecko out and see mom and dad take a step back, and the kids are all curious and everything. Okay, just put your hands out like this and don't grab it. Just hold them like this. And I'm right here, and the kids walking back and forth, and then it's like, okay, mom, come here. No, I don't want to. Okay, that's fine. But if I get that, are you sure? Or maybe some interest, it's like game on.
Yeah.
And for me to have somebody hold a gecko, a crested gecko, a leopard gecko, whatever, for the first time at a show like that, it's everything. It makes my world.
Yeah. And you see 100% extremely personable. And I can definitely, I feel that from this podcast so far, I 100% feel that. And there's nothing quite like extending your passion for the craft.
Exactly.
And whatever it is, if it's reptiles, if it's cars, if it's golf, hockey, whatever, it makes you feel good to share your love and your passion for something to somebody else, and see that excitement and joy. And that's. Yeah, I agree with that answer 100%. Because I'm not a reptile breeder. I'm the control, so to speak. I'm just here for humility and all the funny things I like to say. But I feel that though on a very personal level. I agree with that statement 100%. And I enjoy the human contact too, and even from the what am I trying to say here? The not the person selling them, the consumer. From the consumer side of it, it feels good for me to be able to walk up to a table, and I don't know a lot by far, but I know a decent amount. And when I see something, then I'm like, I have no clue what that could even be. And I'm like, what's that? And then their face lights up just like yours just did, and then we engage in this conversation. It's very nice. It's nice to feel that passion. And I agree with you 100%.
I'm not a good seller. My son is a good seller. So he goes through that whole process and he can identify and keywords and blah, blah, blah. I just want to be there to talk geckos. Can't I just talk geckos? Yeah. I've got to sell some stuff once in a while. So you have to wear both hats at a show like that. You have to wear I'm going to educate, I'm going to share the passion, but at some point you have to flip that hat around a little bit and you have to put on okay, are you ready to buy? That's really difficult for me, but it has to be part of the job of going to these reptile shows. Or else I could talk, from 9 o'clock opening until 4 o'clock shutdown. I could talk to one person about geckos the whole time.
Yeah. I agree 100%. Someone who's I've done more shows this year than I've done in any previous year. I think I've done 6 so far, and I got another one coming up. So I absolutely love it. And I've also started in the last year or so selling online too, and I don't like it as much. But I like making the sales, but it's hard to really get that, sort of meld with people and get a real idea of who it is you're talking to and what they need to know, what they're really understanding about what it is that you have to say. I'm all about, just like you, I'll sit and have a conversation on the phone, via text message or via email with somebody that lasts for days. I don't have a problem with that, but it is still just hard to get that extra something unless you're looking right at them, and they're right in front of you. So I agree 100%.
You've got a good point about online sales versus reptile show sales. I could sell a gecko to a family or to a person that's looking for a gecko, and 4 or 5 shows later they'll show up again, and I immediately, all the wheels kind of come together. Okay, I know you now. Whereas on the store, we're shipping out boxes. It becomes, animal in a deli cup in a box, and it's out the door. And somebody will ask me a question on Facebook or wherever. Hey, Periodor Picta, is it 90 degrees or is it 94? And I'll go on and say it's 94 degrees or whatever. And I'm not making that connection back to, this is a person that bought $500 worth of geckos, 4 months ago. That connection just isn't there. And I need that connection so I can kind of put all the pieces together in my mind to know what their experience level is. And that's what's hard about online sometimes.
Yeah, it's definitely hard.
And the internet does create that sort of disconnect where in 60 seconds of speaking with somebody, you can say this person's had reptiles for 20 years, or you can say this person has seen their first reptile today. So, you got to work it out.
Absolutely.
And that seller of an animal, I mean, you care, but you have a passion and you love these animals. So you want to make sure that, where they're going is a good place.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
you kind of lose that. You lose that feel online.
Yes, 100%. Absolutely.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I mean, because we do want to sell them, but we don't want to sell them. We don't want to sell them to just anyone in the back of our mind, And when you're talking to somebody online, or not even talking to them, really, they're just like want to buy sometimes, and it's kind of like, okay. I mean, I try to ask a couple of questions if I can, but sometimes it's hard to get things out of them, and it's like, okay, I I've had it happen, and I have way less experience than you at this, but it's
but it sounds like you get it, and you made another excellent point I want to kind of touch on real quick here, is that for online sales, my mentality, unfortunately, at this point is, so I'm talking on YouTube and I'm talking on Facebook and Instagram, and that's conversations and that's interactions, everything. When it comes to sales in the store, it's literally cash register kind of mentality. I can't, somebody goes on the store. If they send a question off that store to my email, I'm all over it. But, it's pretty much check out the animals, make the purchase, check out, ship out the animals, and, it's a done deal. Good or bad. But to your point, in a reptile show, I'm asking questions. What are you looking for? Are you looking for something short-term, long-term? What do you have right now? What's your experience? I can go through all those questions. And there's hundreds of times I'll say, well, I tell you what, you're not looking for a crested gecko. You're looking for a leopard gecko. And I don't have that available. Let's go over and walk over to Gary's table because he has leopard geckos. Let me introduce you to Gary, my friend. And
Absolutely.
that exchange, I think, is critical sometimes. But again, on the store, my hat is I'm a cash register.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And I have to stop. I made a face, and it wasn't because of what you're saying. I was totally listening to what you're saying, but it actually plays in a little bit. Charles just put this comment up there, Jacob Fowkes. So we talk about our friends at reptile expos, and sometimes we send people to other people because they have what they're looking for. This is that guy for me right now. He's definitely my show buddy. Hey, Jacob, thanks for coming and watching. He has wrapped up reptiles out here in the local area, same place as me. He does ball pythons and also New Caledonian geckos.
Very cool.
So check him out on Facebook.
So you're doing ball
absolutely nice
pythons,
guy.
Jacob. Maybe you need to
Yes.
hang around after the show a little bit. We'll have a little chat.
Yeah. Yeah, Jacob's a awesome guy. It's funny, I did a giveaway on my Facebook page when I got to like 300 likes because I was like, okay, I'll give some stuff away because, why not? And he won one of the things, which was like one of those rainbow packs of Pangea that I bought to give away. And I met him. And he turned out to be local to me, so I drove over to a parking lot and sat and talked. We ended up talking for like an hour and a half because well, his kids were in the car like, hey, are we going?
Dad.
But yeah, he's a great guy. So thanks, Jacob, for tuning in or tuning in, not turning in.
Hey, Jacob.
Yeah, to answer this question, or not question, I'm sorry, this comment. Me too, buddy. Me too. Huge snake guy here. I'm arguably more of a snake guy than I am anything. I love my dog, but I got my snake. So, Anyway,
the
I just
snake
thought I'd
doesn't get
acknowledge
under
that
your
real
skin
quick.
quite as much as the dog sometimes.
No, the dog's 110 pounds of terror. Absolute terror. I love her, but she's terror.
What kind of dog, Charles?
It's a Rottweiler Great Dane mix.
Wow.
Yeah, strange one.
So it's 110 pounds. Is it still a baby?
Basically.
She's a year and 5 months.
So how many more pounds?
She's probably close. I expect her to thicken up a little bit. Maybe put on another 10 or 15 of just mass. But I don't think she's getting any taller. She kind of looks like a stretched out lab. It's weird because she's got like a Scooby-Doo pattern, and she's long and she's tall, and her head is just lab. Just looks like a lab head. It's the weirdest little dog, but she's so cute. She's
little
so
dog?
Cute.
Very cool.
Yeah, not a little dog.
You got paw prints on your back glass that go above my head, and I'm a little over 6 feet tall.
Yeah. Well, if y'all are dog lovers, here we go. Check out Daily Paws. It's a Instagram featured kind of whole thing. I don't really know much about it. My wife does. And they recently contacted us about one of her photos. So she'll be featured on Daily Paws.
Very cool.
Check that out.
Very nice.
Oh man, your wife just scared me, man. I saw the comment and I didn't see the name, and I was like, how does this random person know my dog's name? I was so nervous.
Yes, Elizabeth Sheeler is my wife.
Yeah, no, that's my dog's name, Pepper. We name all of our animals after TV show characters. It's kind of our thing. So if you check out the TV show Bones, we got a cat named Temperance. That's Bones. We got a male cat named House after Dr. Greg House. We have a gray cat named Meredith Gray.
Okay.
Is that it? No, Pepper. We have a turtle named Sheldon. 2 puns on that one. So that's fun.
No animals named Walter White.
No animals named Walter White. That's funny you said that because I was in contention for my python, my ball python. I picked up at Tinley because it's a piebald. It's a pastel piebald, a pretty high white expression. It's got a number 3 on the back. That's irrelevant to everything we're talking about, but I just thought I'd say that. And I eventually decided on Spock because I'm a super nerd, if you couldn't tell. And Star Trek is probably one of my all-time favorites. I still love Star Wars. There's love to be had across all realms of science fiction, but I'm a Trekkie.
Okay, I'm going to go totally off tangent now and ask you the new Star Trek series, the 3 that they just did, better or worse than the prior Star Trek episodes, series, TV shows, movies?
There's 2 ways to go about that because I love movies and cinema. My brother Nick, where, oh, that way. Yeah, there you are.
Over here.
Here's the
grew up
story.
with a
Yeah.
wall, absolute wall of movies. If there's anything our dad did in this life was buy movies, and that's what we did. Gabe
God,
too.
yeah.
Very
Gabe's
cool.
been around for many
Yeah, a whole
years.
room
There's
full
many
of
nights spent
insane.
watching.
We should have had
television and
stock in
movies.
Blockbuster for sure.
We should have. We should have. Blockbuster was nightly.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Once I
yeah.
could drive,
So
that was my whole
Good
job.
stuff.
yeah. So to get back to your question, new Star Trek, cinematic experience, special effects, 100%. New Star Trek. Got to give it to them. The special effects they're great. All of it. I love it. But it's not Star Trek to me. I don't know. It's just there's something about the wires and the little dots drawn on the poorly cropped background of the 1960s Star Trek that just gets to you. And I love original series and Next Generation. Probably be my two if I had to pick two. That would be it. And the special effects are terrible, horrendous. The acting's even worse. But I love it. I love it. I don't know why. I don't know what it is, but it's good. It's good.
It's
so
probably for the same reason I like Doctor Who.
Huh?
I mean, it has a quality.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it does. Doctor Who's another one. It's yeah. But so original series / Next Generation above all else.
I obviously grew up in the 60s, 70s, but I never really got into Star Trek at all. Watched, if it were on, but I tell you, seeing the very first, and I watched the movies with Shatner and Nimoy and all, but watching the first of the three with Christopher Pine, I think I kind of have a man crush on Christopher Pine.
So good.
Yeah.
So good.
I liked how they brought in the old show with different references, but subtle. It wasn't hitting you over the head. I thought the special effects were wonderful. The storyline, Cumberbatch in number 2, I thought was phenomenal.
Great comment. Can I just say, Cumberbatch kills any role. I mean, Alan Turing. You got Alan Turing over here doing whatever Alan Turing does, and then you got freaking Khan, and then you got Doctor Strange. Cumberbatch is out of this world, amazing. Love Cumberbatch. And back to that, talking about the movies, I didn't really think about the movies so much. Absolutely adore the new generation movies. That's probably not something you should say about science fiction movies, but whatever.
It's all good.
Them. They're amazing. I love the special effects. I love the acting. I was originally thinking of the newer generation shows when you first asked the question, but the movies are out of this world, and especially with Nimoy's, I don't want to say cameo, because I mean he plays in most of the movie. So with Nimoy coming as future Spock in the spoiler alert, if I even need to say that, that's like a 2012 movie. But anyway, but yeah, no. So that really hit home right there. And I say hit home because I'm all of 25 years old. It's not like I lived through this shit. I just love it.
And any movie that features the Beastie Boys and Sabotage, done deal. A+.
100%.
Nice.
Was that a Gecko question? Did I answer your Gecko question?
Yeah. Spot.
Okay,
anyway.
good.
I think we've
Okay,
answered
good.
all of our questions so far.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, man, we
have
really
reptiles. Gotten way off of reptiles, but you know what? That's fine. That's part of the fun of it.
That's cool.
Podcast.
Good
That's
stuff.
part of the fun of it.
Right.
But
There's reptiles
I
in
think,
Star Trek. They're like people, but it
yeah.
balances out.
Yeah.
So I want to ask, though, and it's sort of the last section of questions about YouTube specifically, if we can talk a little bit about that. We've covered some of that already just in our talks. You talked about what inspired you to make your videos, what kind of content you started with, and what you still do is a lot of informational content, just sometimes answering focus questions, sometimes a little bit bigger picture, care of a particular species. But I want to know, like, when you started, especially from someone who's trying to start, like, did you find it challenging to stay motivated to make videos?
No,
you didn't.
No, I didn't find it hard. No, I've always had the motivation to educate, and this was just a different platform to educate. And I always treated it that way. And I kind of struggled because I kind of felt like at times I was showing off. Oh, here's my pretty geckos and look what I'm doing. And that was the last thing I wanted to do. And I try to stay away from that as much as possible. But YouTube, you've got to have a nice picture and, oh my gosh, look at the gecko I just bought. And so I try to balance that as much as possible in trying to, what's that?
That clickbait,
Yes.
To an extent. Yeah.
To an extent. It's not clickbait if you post it on the thumbnail and you actually show it in the YouTube.
Right.
If you don't show it in the YouTube video, Gabriel, you're right on. Then it's clickbait. So it's a fine line that you're always running. I want to be a little entertaining. I want to be very positive. I want to bring out, the best in the community and the animals that we're keeping. But I also I don't think I've ever done, probably a few, but hardly any videos where I haven't had something to share of here's what I'm doing, and I hope this helps you with your care.
Yeah.
So I think you had asked a question about, somebody new in the hobby or in doing YouTube videos.
Yeah.
If I had any advice.
Motivated, yeah.
We were talking just a minute ago about reptile shows, and Nick, you said that you talked for an hour to the fellow that just jumped on. I can't remember his name. Sorry.
Jacob.
I'm sorry. You talked for an hour to Jacob.
Yeah,
well,
in a Walmart parking lot.
In a Walmart parking lot. So people ask me all the time, and I'm actually doing some consulting work on animals, on isopods and geckos, and I just recently did a consultation for somebody doing their YouTube channel. They wanted to boost their subscribers and views and everything. How do I get more subscribers?
That's the question.
It is, but it's not. The question is, how do I put out content that people want to see? And so I threw all this, don't post here and there, go watch my YouTube video and come subscribe to me. Don't do that. What I said to them, and it's amazing, this was about 2 weeks ago, and their subscriber numbers have just jumped like crazy. I'm not an expert. I'm just trying to share what
Well, you've been doing it long enough that you've had to have figured something out.
I've gone through all the mistakes. I've done everything wrong that I could possibly do. Right. But what I told them was the number one thing that you have to do if you're going to do YouTube is, Nick, you talk to somebody for an hour. If you start thinking about, okay, I've got to film this gecko and I have to show that, and I want to make sure, and I'm going to take notes, you're already going down the wrong path. Sit down in front of the key thing with YouTube is just press record. And just start talking about something that you have passion in. If it's Pokemon cards, then if you could talk about Pokemon cards for 10 minutes to somebody and show your passion, then record yourself talking about Pokemon cards. So I try to do that with my videos too. I think around, I want to do something on dubia roaches and feeding your guys. So, okay, then I take the step back. What would I sit down with Charles and Gabriel and Nick and talk about dubia roaches for 10 minutes? You build up that, I can talk about this and I can do this and I want to point out this. So I have a basic outline in the back of my head or in an Excel spreadsheet. And I get in front of the camera and I just start talking. And once in a while, I'll stop and not press record. I press pause. Okay, I want to make sure I cover that. And I get done and I edit and I put it out there. And then I look at it again and watch it and go, I forgot to say that. I never covered that. Why? I was thinking I had to say these things. But anyways, hopefully it gets out there and it's entertaining and it's sharing information. And that's my number one, thing is talk about something you really, really have a passion about. And people will come because of your passion and your enthusiasm.
Yeah, man. I'll tell you what, man, watching some of your videos, just watching a few of them, I'm like, man, this guy is really thorough. I was like, you're very thorough. It's like, I was like, I wonder where he does this research. I mean, you have to be all over the place. Obviously online, but it's just, basically everything is step by step, and like, a lot of times you'll watch videos of other people and stuff like that, and you're like, you still have like a few questions, stuff that you just don't quite, didn't quite understand. But watching your videos, you're very thorough. It's pretty cool.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I try to be, because I do a brief outline on Excel or an index card or something, and I try not to sit down on a Tuesday morning to kick out a video Tuesday afternoon. I'm just not comfortable with that yet. That's just not me. I talk about the passion and just sitting in front of the camera and talking, but that's not me at all. Once I have the organize, if I sit down with the mic and the camera and I start rolling immediately without having some kind of a thought process going, that's just so out of my comfort zone. So I know that I have to do something like put down some notes and at least have some kind of an informal. Sometimes I have like Gabriel was saying, sometimes I have a 2-page outline. If it's something like talking about thermostats for heat mats or something like that, I know I want to cover, because this is really important. I don't want somebody to miss one of the steps and, say, Wally, I watched your video and my house burnt down because you forgot to tell me to. Yeah. So sometimes I do that. Sometimes it's just rough outline and I sit down and just start filming. So, but again, passion, share your experiences and just press record.
That's great advice. Yeah, that's definitely something that I need to take to heart, I think, in some cases, because I do think I overthink a little bit when it comes to some of my videos. Although I do just a little bit, right? Although nobody knows me like my brother.
My man loves to write a dissertation on any topic,
but except for my actual dissertation. But whatever.
I didn't say it.
I said it. I'll say it. I'm not ashamed. It's cool. But yeah. Yeah, I definitely need to take that to heart. I do find that I don't necessarily find myself needing notes to talk on camera personally, with my little bit of experience that I have. I do, multiple takes, obviously, because I get tongue-tied and I think that happens to everybody. But yeah, I'll definitely keep that in mind. Basically just pretend like I'm having a conversation, with somebody who wants to hear what I'm saying, who has just as much interest in it as I do, because I hope that's the target audience, ideally.
Yeah. Yes. So I think when you get in trouble, and where I've recently gotten in trouble, is that I start watching all these how to make better YouTube videos, and you have to be quick and you have to get your point. You can't say it twice, and you have to do this and you have to do that. And then it's like, okay, I'm watching one of my videos. I suck. I suck at doing this stuff. I should never do another video in my life. I think people kind of get bogged down by, these way high expectations. And I realize that my little tiny niche of isopods and geckos and fish, I'm not going to be a Mr. Beast or somebody that has 14 million subscribers. I'm just not. I want to grow. I want to keep getting good comments and people coming back to me and saying, hey, I was thinking about doing that, and the information that you shared helped me make a decision or helped me keep my animal better. That's, one of my driving forces. But I think that you get in trouble if you try to be something that you're not and try to make a perfect video.
Yeah.
And I fall into that as bad as anybody, because, I think, okay, I need this B-roll and I need a great introduction and my final, and I have to put it together. And then it's like, but it's going to take me, a year to put all of those pieces together. And again, sometimes I just need to stop overthinking it, like you said, Nick, and just there. I just hit the record button.
Yeah. Yeah, I find myself recording a lot of footage that I feel like when I'm in editing, I'm like, holy moly, this thing is getting long. It's getting long. It's getting longer. It's getting longer. And I'm thinking to myself, in the back of my mind, there's this thing that's like talking to me, and it's like, hey, if you make it too long, nobody's going to watch it. And I'm like, but I'm like, wow, I feel like I need all that, I need all that footage that I took. I feel like I do, and part of me does, but getting the 25-minute mark seems to be a problem that I have. It's a long video.
It's hard not to do that. I do that. I can do that easily. I did an isopod permit video, how to go through every single step to do your permits if you want to sell isopods. And I recorded for an hour and a half, and then had to break it down. And I think I got it under 12 or 13 minutes. But there was a lot of cutting out as much of the fluff as I possibly could. I want to mention Joe Hupp again because he's my hero. I did an interview with Joe Hupp. We actually did it on a Saturday, and we recorded for about an hour and a half. I said, Joe, I just need half hour of your time. I don't want to take all your day. So he sat and back and forth an hour and a half, and the screen froze. I mean, mid-sentence, and I get a phone call. Hey, all of my electric just went down. Sorry, can we reschedule this for? So the next day, he said, well, give me a call and we'll record more. I think we went another hour and a half. So I had 3 hours. It's like nobody's going to watch 3 hours. So I realized I had to bring it down to an hour. I have to get this down to an hour.
Watch 3 hours.
I know, and I tell you what, I've watched the raw footage 3 times again. But I knew I couldn't do the 3 hours and present it on YouTube. So I tried to get it down to, I think it was an hour and 12 minutes or something. So what I did was I just cut all the times that I was talking, and I just left it to just the question, hey, Joe, how do you take care of this animal? And when he would reply, and then I would come back and I would say, oh, yeah, that's a great idea. I just cut all of my talking and blabbing out, and it got me down to an hour and 12 minutes.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely something that eats at me a little bit when I start getting into that long video range, but hopefully I'll learn as I go how to make them a little bit. Yeah, he says we'd watch it.
I concur.
Yeah. Some of us definitely would. Maybe not everybody at large, but definitely there's a group of us that would sit down and watch you talk to some.
There's a word for that.
To Joe Hupp for 3 hours.
For 3 hours,
I'd watch that.
yeah.
I'd watch that.
Like I said, Charles kind of shook his head, but I've watched it 3 times after that, and I don't watch the video on YouTube. I go back to my raw footage and I'll throw it up onto my screen, and I'll just hit play, and then I'll come over and I'll answer messages or do something else. So
yeah.
100%. I would listen to that. I'm a big podcast guy. I don't know what it is about listening to people talk. I like it. Every single night. This has once again nothing to do with what we're talking about, but every single night I fall asleep listening to your daily equation. For you real nerds out there, if you follow Brian Greene in any quantum physics or any physics for that matter, every night, over and over and over again. I've probably gone through the list twice.
He's letting it burn into his subconscious.
Yeah.
Until he knows it.
It is. I feel like it's starting to work, maybe.
Yeah.
I need to do that. I need to listen to it over and over to get some different points. And then you start doing things, you start experiencing, and then, some of the points come back to you, or you maybe have to re-listen to it.
Yeah. Yeah, Jennifer on here, she says, of course, I love podcasts. Yeah, we agree. We all love podcasts. Obviously, I love reptile podcasts. I listen to the whole lot of them. And that was sort of obviously what inspired me to try to start this.
We'll wait, buddy. Handle it.
He's got to pee. All right. Very good.
But
I
got
no. Go ahead, Gabe.
I don't know. Just out of curiosity, where do you see yourself in the next, in the future? Like, what future plans you got? And,
yes, the next future.
In the next future.
The next future.
Boy.
English is Gabe's second language. You'll have to bear with him.
And now for our English-speaking listeners. So we were talking about YouTube and cutting out stuff like that. I do that all the time. I think, Nick, you were talking about, cutting, saying words wrong. And Gabriel, I do it all the time on YouTube. What I do find, though, is I'll do something, or I'll say something or work with the geckos or something. And it's like, okay, at this point, what I'm going to do is feed. And I'll, instead of dumping 1 or 2 crickets in, the whole cup of 150 crickets goes in. God. So there's a lot of cutting out of stuff like that out of my videos. So I did a video. I've got to tell the story real quick. Sorry. An isopod setup. I had a series a couple of years ago. Somebody would send me a 1 minute recording of their isopod setup, and I would kind of critique it. And I would put on my headset so I could listen to them, and I kind of would stop it and then record my commentary so nobody could hear theirs, because I had then the post editing, I would play both of them at the same time. It just was easier that way. Hey, Andrew, thanks for joining in. So it was easier that way. So one recording, I went through probably about 10 minutes or so. And then I think after about 10 minutes, I looked down and here my headset wasn't plugged into the computer.
Oh,
My reaction is, and at that point, what you want to do is make sure that you have a moist area. Well, that blankety blank didn't work.
Yeah.
I left that in as a
lot of clips like
blooper
that.
and cut the word out and bleep the word out. That was pretty funny.
Yeah.
I have no idea what you asked me just now.
Oh, what Gabe asked?
Sorry, Gabriel.
No, I was just asking, what future plans does Supreme Gecko and Supreme Isopods and stuff have?
What a great question. I wish I had an answer for you. I every single year at the end of the year, we have a lot going on at the end of the year, but every year I list out all the animals that I'm working with, and I put down, from a sales standpoint, I put down what we sold that year and what my goal would be in the next year. And then I take a day and I kind of reflect. So if I want to get to that point with that animal, what do I need to do? Do I need more of them? Do I need different enclosures? Do I need setups? Personally, from a Supreme Gecko, Supreme Isopods, Supreme Aquaria, I don't really have a long-term goal, so to speak, for the businesses. I just want to keep doing what I'm doing and just getting better at doing it. From a sales, I mean, everything's, in Excel, line by line, itemized. But from a business standpoint, I don't want to, limit myself by saying I want to make X amount of dollars, because what if, something hits? Again, to your point about the isopods, I never anticipated 2 years ago of doing as many sales as we're doing with isopods. So I guess what I'm saying is I don't want to limit myself from a monetary standpoint by saying I want to do this amount with Supreme Gecko as a business. I will look at each animal and say, this is where I want to focus and do better with those animals. From a YouTube standpoint, I want to keep, increasing the views and hopefully that becomes more of part of our repertoire of providing information to everybody. The facility is what it is. There's no room for expansion. The aquariums, I'm going to show real quick. Bear with me for a second here. I'll see if I can turn this. I'll probably lose everybody. But my rack of fish tanks is limited to 18 tanks, small tanks of small fish. And that's as much space as I and myself and my wife has allowed me to do for fish. But downstairs is downstairs, and I can't expand that at all. Per my wife, I can't take one of the other bedrooms in the house. This is it. So I am where I am.
Yep, I hear
and
you
that,
on that one.
in no way did that answer your question, but
No, it did.
It totally
though.
did.
It did in so many ways, because basically what I gathered from that quick, summary is I want to be a better keeper, and I want to be a better person in every way that I can. That's basically what you said. You want to keep animals, and you want to keep educating.
Yep.
Heard it loud and clear.
right on.
Very good answer. Very admirable answer. Absolutely. Yeah, that's
Thank
me 100% too. I want to increase, and better the way that I'm keeping everything that I have before I grow anymore, because I can't grow anymore either, Wally. Yeah, go ahead.
1 second, my brother. Literally. Wally, you got anything for that? It piqued my interest. Have you noticed anything like you observed any of these?
Slanted.
I don't think Frank's isopod enclosures are slanted. I think that he's, I think Frank's I think he's a little slanted. So he's probably thinking that the isopods are doing better, but we know Frank.
I love it.
I'm not saying, I'm just saying.
I'm not saying, I'm just saying. Awesome. No, it peaked. Yeah.
That is interesting, though. Thanks for bringing that up. I've not seen that, but it's interesting. It'd be interesting to see a comparison. couple
Yes,
side by side.
You'd have to do an experimental protocol, probably.
Yes.
Yes. For sure.
Your sample size though would have to be probably
Yeah, you would
about
have to
20
have
bins.
at least. Well, we like in general in science we like 30.
30.
30 is a magic.
As
number.
I've said in previous podcasts, you got to get that in up.
You got to bump those
Got to get
ends
the
up.
in up.
Yeah. Yeah, we're nerds big time, Wally.
In being sample size.
Yes, obviously.
I resemble that remark.
Resemble?
Oh man.
I don't know.
So I feel like we've touched on most everything other than, we didn't talk about the fish as much. You started with the fish. You've got your 18 tanks there. What species are you keeping?
Oh gosh.
Currently?
Probably 18 or so different
Just
ones.
18 different
I think there are probably 18 different species. So
one per tank.
Maximizing it.
when I was in it bigger time, I kept a lot of African
we go.
cichlids, some South American cichlids. Andrew is a big time fish person too. Andrew is like Mr. Discus. So he'll know everything that I'm talking about here. But
I know
like
Andrew follows me on Instagram, so I appreciate that, Andrew, and I follow you too. You're one of the only ones who's commented on some of my stuff, so appreciate that.
Andrew is an amazing guy. I tell you, everybody on here, everybody is amazing. I so appreciate everybody's support and their part in the community. Andrew,
As do we.
Wow.
Thank
Absolutely.
you very much, guys. Thank you very much.
for
And,
fish. Go ahead, Charles. I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, and with the fish. We were just
Exactly.
talking at the same time. You know how it is.
For fish, I keep a lot of, if people know what these are, a lot of South Americans. So I don't keep a few South Americans, Pistogramma. I like the wild betta types. I like some of the shell dwellers from Africa, wild live bearer types, and I like killifish. So, I can kind of go down the rows here and say killifish, albino guppy for some reason. I was never into albino. I was never into guppies or some of the more common animals, but these guys are kind of running this whole fish room thing from a
they'll take off. Yeah.
money. What's that?
Yep, the guppies will take off for sure.
They did, and they're thriving. And then a pisto and live bearer and some shrimp. I actually have a tank of shrimp, and shell dwellers. So it's fun.
You keep like some of the smaller, like dwarf compressiceps and stuff like that.
I keep I've kept the compressiceps in the past, but now I'm keeping Signatus and I'm keeping Gold ornatus, some of the smaller shell dwellers.
That's cool, man.
Yeah. Love the shell dwellers. I had multifasciatus I've had many different types of shell dwellers in the past. Brevis, Neolamprologus brevis. I just like the small stuff. I think that you see more behavior from little shell dwellers digging out their pits and moms watching their fry. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, they are really cool.
Yeah. So with this, beginning to wind down as we're near the 145 mark, wasn't planned at all, but with our man Andrew over here asking this question, I can't help but open it up to questions to the chat. If anybody has anything they'd like to know from us or the main man at Supreme Geckos, Wally Kern, go ahead and ask it. So if you want to take that one away, Wally, I imagine that would be directed at you.
Yeah, that was one of our questions anyway that we didn't get to. So yeah.
Oh, so I did a series a couple of years ago, the King of Isopods, and I'm going to kind of go like, if you keep snakes, you could go off on genus and species. And so there's a group of isopods called the giant Spanish, which are kind of difficult. They're slower growers. They're slower at breeding. They will always be really high cost and hard to find. And so this series, I did 5 or 6 of them. And I said, Porcelio Bolivare is the king of isopods. And then I explained myself. And then a couple of weeks later, I did Porcelio magnificus is the king of isopods. And so my last one in the whole series, I donned a wig and this Supreme Gecko guy keeps calling all these animals the King of Isopods. He can't make up his mind for nothing. I came from the South. My parents were from the South, so I pick up the Southern not very well, but I pick it up pretty quickly. So I did all of these other isopods, and finally the last one that I did was for Celio, Hoffman, Sega, which are about as long as your pinky.
Wow.
All these other isopods are just thumbnail size, with these Hoffman Sega are as long as your pinky. They have parental care behaviors. They're easier to breed. They're easier to keep, and they're just a great pet. And especially for people that are keeping isopods, the beginner bioactive kind of dwarf whites and powder blues and things like that. This is a nice step up to keep a more difficult isopod, but not terribly difficult where you're going to buy 10 for $150 and lose them, in 2 weeks. Celio, Hoffman, Sega, my favorite today.
Awesome.
Okay. All right. We got
any other questions? My our good friend Frank wants to know what you're going to do for your 158th birthday. Get that on screen right now. That's great.
Wow.
I'll be for my 158th birthday. I'll probably still be cleaning gecko poop.
Sounds about
pretty
right.
exciting, eh?
Yeah. Yeah. Anybody else have any questions they'd like Wally or even any of us here to answer? If you have a question for me, probably not very reptile related, but yeah, I know other stuff like cars. I know
Hey, can you tell me what's wrong with my car? It's making this sound like.
Yeah. I got that down.
Didn't you do a YouTube video that you could just point them to? If your car is making an sound, here's what you need to do.
Yeah, no, that's a good idea for a YouTube video too, because I'll be like, if your car's making this noise, and then just put my contact info up. Like, call me.
There you go.
Yeah.
Very much.
Andrew, so you noticed the flyers, but Charles is actually a Penguins fan. I don't know if you knew that or not.
Hey. All right, thank you guys for joining us. That's going to end tonight's broadcast. We'll see you guys probably never again. Bye. No, I'm just kidding.
Good night, all.
I'm just kidding. That hurt. That hurt a little bit. IR Thumper. Actually, Wally touched on 12 Supreme Days of Christmas early on in the podcast. So please feel free to rewind us here and get caught up on all that. We got another one here. That's for you, Wally.
Other than Picta.
Great question. So I mentioned earlier that if I could have one gecko, it probably would be Periodora Masabi, but they're really difficult. My favorite of them would probably be Periodora androyensis. Androyensis are about this big, so they're about 1.5 inches. Very tiny geckos that are found in Madagascar, kind of rolled up in leaves. They're a ground gecko, but when they're hunting, they do the typical tail in the air. I keep hitting everything on my desk. The tail in the air and just waving the tail back and forth, and then they just jump on their prey. So it's a really cool, kind of rare animal in the hobby. I don't think that many people are keeping them. I have a tank of, I think 3 or 4 males and probably about 4 or 5 females. And it's just so fun to watch them. Very cute little gecko.
Awesome.
Very good question there.
Yes, thank you.
Creative Coralopus coming through with a very clutch question. So here we are.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Anything else from anybody? Anybody else?
Anyone? Bueller?
Yes, Bueller.
Days of 12 Supreme Days of Halloween and Thanksgiving.
I saw that.
Awesome.
I don't know.
I mentioned earlier that we struggled the first couple of years to get the 12 different gifts. And I think I mentioned earlier that we're probably sitting around I don't even know how many. I haven't done the final tallies, but we're probably at 100 different gifts throughout the event. So I have to somehow string those together and give out, a bunch of gifts every single day of the 12 days. So I had a donor just today message me and say, well, I'm happy to donate, but can I have just one day by myself and just, feature my one gift? I reluctantly said there's no flipping way I can do that this year. So what I did do, because a really, really good guy, super guy that shares information all over the place. So we start I'm going to take a second of your time here. We start the 12 Supreme Days of Christmas, the day after Thanksgiving, as the announcement, as the kickoff. And I tell people what you have to do to participate is you have to go over here and like this person that's donating a gift. Just say that you like them, come back to the video and say, I liked, whatever, or just put the word like. That's all you have to do. And then I'll pick a winner out of that. So that's the first day. And then I skip a day to let everybody do that. And then, 2 days later, I pick a winner. So this year we're going to start selecting on the live stream winners. I hope this works. We're going to select somebody on the live stream. So the very first day we'll have a winner the very first day of participation. So that'll be fun.
Very
So
nice.
they get their own day. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. It sounds like a good time.
Awesome.
It is. It's a lot of fun. We try to make it fun. It's just not, it'll never be the 12 Supreme Days of Christmas will never ever be, okay, everybody's coming in just to win something and let me pull a winner. I try to string it out of 20 or 30 minutes and we talk about different things going on. And then at the end, we pick the winner. So one of the comments last year was, I wish you would just pick a winner in the first minute.
Bye.
That's not why we're here.
Not why we're here.
Oh, it's about having fun.
It is. It really is.
Yep. Sounds
Speaking
awesome.
of having fun, I mean, this has been an absolute blast. Sorry if you see me yawning, rubbing my eyes.
He works a lot.
Yeah, very strenuous work schedule. I actually just made it home not too long before this podcast, but it was an absolute joy to be here and to spend quality time with you, Wally. It's very nice to speak with you.
Yeah.
Face to face, so to speak.
Yeah.
And I definitely look forward to our future engagements. And this has been a great experience, I believe, for everybody. Definitely for me.
Well, it's
very knowledgeable.
It's been a blast for me. You guys are doing a great job out there. Keep up the good work that you're doing. Keep building your audience, your viewership. Keep contributing to the community like you're doing. I've had a blast tonight. If you want me to, I can come on your show. I think we talked about 3 different topics. I think we talked that I'm going to come on and we're going to talk a little bit about golf. I think we're going to talk about hockey. And we're absolutely talking about bass fishing. So,
Yeah. You want to talk
I
about golf and hockey? Maybe me and you can work something out. But these
There we
two
go.
guys right here, they know how to bass fish. Let me tell
There
you.
we
I
go.
taught them everything they know. They're very good at it.
Oh, okay.
Not as good as me. Not as good as me.
We're in a situation here. You'll find if you ever speak to Charles again and again and again that you'll realize that this man, everything he touches turns to gold. He's just good at everything. So,
who's got the biggest? Who's got the PB? That's all I'm saying. Anyway.
Yeah, currently you do. I'm pretty proud of my PB though. It's pretty good.
Same here. My personal best is
some good fish. I was standing right next to him, teaching him how to reel it in. It's a great experience for everybody, the whole family, really. But
so go around the room and tell me what your personal best is for largemouth.
All right.
You want to start?
7-8.
Oh, 7-8, dude. That's a hog. That's a hog.
Wow.
That's a
I
hog
know.
right there.
Yeah,
What you
mine-
got, Nick?
Mine's 7.6.
Wow.
Yeah.
7.6. That's a hog. That's almost as big as an 8.3.
Yeah.
It's almost as big. Who hit caught that 8.3?
Yeah, man.
Oh shit. That's
Gabriel, Nick, you're both bleeding from the nose a little bit.
I know.
Kinda-
right. I'm beating them up.
Man.
It's a family
That
thing.
was a
We've been beating
shock.
each other up for so long.
There's definitely
It's
been some
funny.
rivalries over this.
It's so funny because we were
These
freezing at a
got tournaments.
local golf course. We're freezing. We literally that's a good point, Gabe. We we're just a real family here, and we had a whole whiteboard dedicated to this with names and total weights for the whole season.
You had to
There was
take
money
a
in it. It was bad.
weighing the bass.
Yeah, you had to
had
take
have
a picture of the
on
bass
scale.
on the scale. Yep.
That's legitimate.
It was very strenuous. I think I won our last year by a few 100 pounds, but that's nobody's
A few
talking about
hundred
that.
pounds.
Wow.
Yeah. Somebody had a lot of time
I
to
think
fish.
that year we caught like 1,000 pounds of bass.
Dude, it was insane. That was
Obviously,
our last
catch and
really
release,
good year. That was our last really good year.
Wow.
But yeah, so many nights in the rain, freezing cold. That we got so many pictures. A lot of my pictures on my Instagram are fishing.
Yeah.
Thunderstorms.
Yeah. It's a good time, man. Definitely love the
Incredible.
fishing.
Now, is this all in Pennsylvania?
Oh no, Virginia.
Virginia. Actually.
Virginia. Okay.
Virginia.
Okay.
Yeah.
All in Virginia. Yeah.
Good lakes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
golf
it's
course, a local golf
decent,
course
yeah.
lake actually has provided us a lot of fish.
Wow, little farm lake. Yeah. Wow. So
Love it.
I'm up in Wisconsin. So our bass, after 10 years are about 1.5 pounds. So my personal best is I think just over 5, which is,
That's
for
great.
Wisconsin is
That's
pretty,
a big
pretty
Wisconsin
nice.
bass.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a hog, man. That's a hog.
Yeah.
But my
Hog
son,
anywhere, really.
same trip, a good story, and I'll stop here. My son, same trip, fishing, and I catch the 5 and picture, and can we stay out a little bit longer, Dad? I think we're really on him. Well, I knew what he wanted. And fishing, it was a half hour later, and he's got one. We're
He wanted to beat dear old dad.
Wanted to beat dear old dad. So reels it in, and I had weighed mine, and we got the pictures and everything. I wrote it down so I could say something on on the wherever I posted it. Reels it in, and he weighs it. And what was yours, Dad? It was 5'1". Why? What's yours, Jordan? 5'2".
Oh.
We can go home now.
Oh,
We can go home. I'm done fishing.
That's great.
Oh no!
And there's a point in your life that
fish. He just had a little bit more
had
water.
to be dead. There's a point in your life where you're trying to do the best that you possibly can, but then you meet that time in your life where you kind of want your sons to kind of take the reins, and that was kind of Jordan taking the reins, and I was a pretty proud papa of him, so that was pretty cool.
That's awesome. Yeah.
That's awesome. It's a great story.
I guess.
It's a great story to end it on, honestly. But
Yeah, let's say the very last thing that we would ask you is just to let anyone who doesn't already know who you are that's here or maybe will watch in the future, how can they get in touch with you if they want to buy geckos, isopods, or if they just want to, ask you questions, because obviously you do that.
The best place to find me is probably Facebook under Wally Kern. You can go on the Supreme Gecko Facebook page. Certainly find the 12 Supreme Days of Christmas at 12SDOC. YouTube, obviously, with Supreme Gecko. Again, Instagram at Supreme Gecko. I have TikTok and I dance on TikTok. No, I don't dance on TikTok. I have some TikTok
Frank
videos.
was asking you to dance earlier. Frank, I saw him.
I'm sure he was.
It's in the thread. I saw him. He wants you to dance. He's trying. Maybe
Frank?
it was Thumper. I can't remember who said it, but somebody said
I'm
it.
sure it was Frank. And again, we know Frank. So no, I'm not going to dance. But Supreme Gecko all over the place.
Supreme Gecko all over the place.
All over the place.
I love it. You need to get in contact with Wally. He's all over the place at Supreme Gecko.
He's all over the
I
place
love
at
it.
Supreme Gecko. Yeah.
All over the place.
That's the new slogan, I think. I think you found it.
I love it.
Yeah, I think it's good.
It goes hand in hand with Wally doesn't dance.
Yeah.
No, nobody wants to see Wally
Sorry,
dance.
Frank. Oh,
Dude.
that's the wrong comment. There it is. Hey.
Yeah, over a year, way over a year. Ain't gonna. I did the worm once on one of my 12 Supreme Days of Christmas.
Whoa.
I did the worm. Unfortunately, I forgot to move the camera down to actually get me doing the worm.
Oh no!
So yeah, that's so unfortunate.
Dang. Dang.
Oh my.
All right.
Oh,
Here we are. It is a late Friday evening, and
Yes.
this is arguably our I say hour. I can't speak for
Definitely
everybody.
longer.
This is my favorite episode so far. It's been
Mine
so great
too.
getting to know you, Wally.
Yes.
I really appreciate your time. I really, really thoroughly do.
You guys are.
You got to check out USARK, man. They're fighting for us. They're fighting for you. Everybody's rights to own and keep these geckos. Or I said gecko. Sorry, it's been beaten in the brain all night.
Yeah.
Reptiles. So make sure you check them out. Subscribe. A small fee, but I tell you, it goes a really long way. It goes a really long way. So after you do that, once you run on over to Supreme Gecko, give him a like or a follow. And once again, it's been a
there
great
are
time
links
having
to
you on,
his
Wally.
links to both his YouTube channels down below. So you've got Supreme Gecko, and I noticed you also have Supreme Aquaria, which you're growing. So definitely check out Supreme Aquaria. Give him a like, give him a follow, watch his videos. I'm sure they're awesome.
Thank you guys.
He beat me by 1 second.
It's been a blast.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I cut you off. I was just like,
I lost
no,
my spot.
you're not getting to say that.
Everything he just said. Plus, we're going to include a link for the 12 Supreme Days of Christmas for you guys.
We'll add that. Yeah.
Make sure you check that out.
Thank you.
Please, if you're at all able to, please consider donating. It's a great cause. And hopefully we'll see you here next week. We really loved having you guys. And we're hanging out with our man Wally over at Supreme Geckos. You're hanging out. This is Reptile Hangouts. We'll see you guys next week, all right?
Thanks again.
All right,
Good night,
everybody.
guys.
Have a good night.
Thank you so much.